He
I
goes
guess
to
you don't
space
know.
with
You
an
haven't
alien.
seen it yet.
No, that you never saw the commercial for it? You probably saw it on YouTube. I don't know. We good to go? Oh, yeah. All right, guys. This is the show Intellectually, where we teach you, where's the camera right there? Where we teach you how to hold us accountable, particularly in real estate. I'm Robert.
I'm Chad.
And we got Hannah here as well. She didn't want to be on camera, but we vetoed that idea.
I have a camera.
I have a camera. Cool. We decided to do more of a laid back idea today, restructured. So let us know if you guys like this structure. And of course, as always, send us a message or anything talking about what you prefer us to speak to, professionally wise, of course. So cool. So start out with some current events. What do you got for us, Chad?
So current events, right?
Yeah,
So
what's going on in the world?
Pulled some data from Redfin.
Yep.
The other day, they posted some interesting data on the buyer or home seller to buyer home buyer ratio in
Yep.
the U.S. And we're experiencing the largest gap we've seen since 2013, with approximately 630,000 more home sellers than buyers.
Oh, yeah.
Throughout the country.
Jeez.
Yeah, we have areas like Miami, Nashville,
Okay.
West Palm, San Antonio, all the bunch of places in the South who are holding the strongest buyers markets right now.
Okay,
Whereas
cool.
There's the most amount of home sellers over
Oh, yeah.
buyers in the area, and then we're also seeing the strongest sellers markets in the north, places like Newark, Montgomery County, Nassau County, Milwaukee, and New Brunswick, all
Makes
northeast.
sense.
So one thing that I find interesting, like I said, the north and the south have really strong buyer and sellers markets, but the places that are doing the most balance right now are the Midwest. And
Yeah.
where are we at right now?
Yeah, because we got weather and other things to worry about. Now, I do want to anybody viewing it how they kind of calculate a buyer's or a seller's market. What they do is a 6-month ratio, right? If the amount of inventory on the market lasts less than 6 months on a projection, if they stopped listings and all the listings we have on the market right now lasted less than 6 months, then it would be considered a buyer's market. If it lasts more than 6 months, then it'd be considered a seller's market. And how do they calculate that 6 month and like how long it would last? Just statistically on how quickly a property sells and what buyers are grasping at those properties. We can get in depth about it if you guys want, but figured I'd just clear up.
Even though that is the
Yeah.
most common way to determine that, Redfin actually did mention, so they define a market where there are over 10% more sellers than buyers as a buyer's market, and a market where there are over 10% of fewer sellers than buyers as a seller's market.
I'm not a fan of that way, and I don't want to get in trouble, but I mean, how can you tell exactly what a buyer is? You know what I mean? I mean, I've had buyers get pre-approvals that evening, but either way, and I mean pre-approvals, not
And
pre-qualifications.
of course, these are just estimates, but I do know St. Louis was sitting at a roughly 13% more sellers than buyers. Again, according to Redfin's estimate.
According to Redfin's, but then you go to statistics, St. Louis is actually a seller's market because inventory wouldn't last more than traditionally 3 months is what they're saying. So yeah, it's back and forth. You never know. But yeah, you got anything else?
That's all I got for current news right now.
I like it. All right, you got something that you wanted to try with us, Hannah, correct?
Potentially.
Uh-oh, potentially.
So it's kind of off of that game of like
Yeah.
where people go, she's a 10, right? Which means
Yep.
she's awesome all around, personality, looks, but she has a slight, what would you call it?
So
One of our icks.
yeah,
Maybe.
it's that common joke like she's a 10 or he's a 10, but
You got that one quality. Or
yeah,
that one
but he snores
character.
in his sleep, and you would be
Yeah.
like,
That's a good one.
8.
She's a 10, but she snores.
Snores in
in
her sleep, and you're like,
oh,
well, I
she's an
love my
8.
sleep. Yeah, so so we're gonna do that with houses, right?
Yeah, we're gonna do that real estate edition.
Real estate edition, Bray edition.
Heck yeah.
Okay.
Cool. All right, so what do we got?
Okay, I'm gonna throw this one at you guys.
This is the first time I'm hearing these. I don't know.
I haven't told
Same.
them. I haven't told
Yeah.
them any of these,
Okay,
so we'll see how this
sorry.
goes. This one caught me a little off guard because I've never really thought of like corner lots.
Yeah.
But it says it's a 10, and we're talking about the house, right? It's
Yep.
a 10, but it's on a corner lot.
So it's a 10, but it's on a corner lot. You got 2 intersections. I have a lot of buyers that don't like corner lots because of safety reasons, right? Coming in, missing a turn, pulling too fast, sliding if it's icy, or just corner lots usually have red lights and or stop signs and cause more traffic issues. And you don't want children running around that. So I could see that. Bring your 10 down. What else?
10 to what?
Well, that's
You
just
gotta rank
one.
'em.
An 8.
An
But I don't
8?
have kids. So don't get mad if you're like, it should be a 1 for the safety of my kids. I agree with you. I just don't have kids.
I was also going to say 8. While it is a big deal, I don't,
Yeah.
I don't think
Yeah.
it will bring it down enough. Again, if you're in the
Yeah.
right neighborhood, fencing, depending on what the property looks like.
Touche.
There's measures you can take. of
Tranquility
course.
you lose, right? You got that backyard feel. You're like, this is my backyard. I can relax. I can go out there. You said you like to tan sometimes in the backyard or something.
Yeah,
Nobody
well,
wants
and
to
that's
sit in the
what this.
backyard.
I think you kind of hit it right on the money.
Yeah.
It's like less privacy, more traffic,
More traffic, less
more
privacy.
noise,
I like corner lots
sidewalk
just
to
because,
maintain.
yeah, if I have a cool looking house, see it from all angles. But yeah.
Now, interesting question: do corner lots sell for more or less? I would guess.
Statistically,
Wouldn't it
I
be
would.
more?
I've not looked this up, but I would argue. Look it up. Let's see. I would argue they do. Just I don't know. Just type it in. You'll probably get a ChatGPT or Copilot popping up. But
Corner lots generally do not sell for less than similar interior lots. In fact, they command a slight premium due to their unique advantages such as increased visibility and curb appeal.
Wrap your face.
Interesting.
so that's hilarious. Yeah. No, we're just literally like she's a 10 or the property's a 10, but it's an 8 now. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe I was onto something a little bit when I
See,
said
and
I like
that's-
to show off my house.
That's one that's definitely more personal preference rather
Yeah.
than I can only imagine some of these other ones we'll get into, which
Right.
are more make or break.
I disagree with it because I've had buyers less attracted to corner lots, plain and simple.
Sure.
But yeah.
Next.
Okay. It's a 10, and this one's going to bring back some sour memories for Rob, I would assume. It's a 10, but there's only one bathroom.
Oh yeah.
Dun, dun,
So I tell people this all the time. My mom grew up with 10 people in the household, 8 brothers and sisters. I don't know.
8 brothers and sisters.
Yeah, 8 brothers and sisters, and then 2 parents. 10 people
your
total.
mom did. I thought you were talking about you. I was
No, I only had 5. Still a lot of us running around. But my mom, she grew up 8 brothers and sisters with 1 bathroom on the property, and it was off of the kitchen. So I don't know. I can't imagine what that life was like, eating breakfast, dinner, and lunch outside if I were them. But I don't know.
What do you do when everyone gets the stomach flu
Right?
at once?
Yeah, it's one of those things where you
I got
think
my
you can
particular
get over-
tree.
You
We're getting
think
too graphic.
right. You think you can get over it and get over that hump, and then when you're actually in it,
Oh,
you're
yeah.
So, okay, if it's a 10 and it only has 1 bathroom.
like, 5.
what
I mean,
is
it depends on how many bedrooms, right?
Of
If it's a
course.
4-bed, 1 bath, I'd be like, ugh. If it's a 2-bed, 1 bath, I could see it working.
And what's the term for that? Anyone? Pop quiz?
Functional obsolescence.
Ding, ding, ding.
Oh, look at you. So
What?
safe.
Just one bathroom instead of multiple? Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I got an agent. We're getting an offer on a property right now. But anyways,
Boom. There it
so
is. Clip it.
this is what this is what I
Oh.
down. This is what she wants this so bad. Anyways, anytime I have buyers looking at properties and they're like, I'm good with 1 bath, I usually have to remind them, if you're going to go, if you want guests over or family members over, you don't realize it till it actually happens when you're like, you can go to the bathroom, let me just clean up all my stuff. I notice like the ladies tend to have more stuff in the bathroom. So especially if you're a lady, you kind of want to get your makeup and your privacy stuff and you want to just be able to spread it out in your own bathroom, right? And not have to clean it up every time somebody comes over. So 2 bathrooms, at least a half bath, like a 1.5 bath might be strategic. So
On top of that, I mean, you also need to think about when you go and sell the house, right?
Yeah.
You're going to have the same problem.
have that, yep.
Buyers are going to want more bathrooms. You're going to be stuck with this one bathroom property that is not as desirable.
agreed. So I'm going to say the house was a 10, but it's got 1 bathroom. 7.
5.
You said 5?
5.
Tough crowd.
All right, we're going to move on to the next one
Yep.
here. And this one, yeah, this one's rough. It's a 10, but there's no basement.
It's a 10, but there's no basement. So clients that I have, they were excited when there was no basement, because they're like, no basement, no problems, right? Don't got to worry about leaking, foundation, last second flooding. Basements, as cool and great as they are, do come with problems, right? And so personally, as a real estate agent, if my client chooses a slab or even a crawl space, I'm thinking inspections are going to be quicker, right? I'm thinking there's less to deal with or threaten the closing. So it's a 10, but there's no basement. I'm chill with it, you know. I'm still
Chad?
saying 10.
You're saying it's a 10?
Well, if I'm an agent, if there is no basement, I could see it going down personally.
Again, this is more of a lifestyle thing, right?
Yeah.
You're sacrificing storage, you're sacrificing another living space again, but
and you're
again,
sacrificing the man cave.
as far as, if those things aren't as important to you, then yeah, absolutely, you're getting away with one of the most hazardous, and I would say the areas that
Problem causes.
Problem
Yeah, the
issues.
problem child of the house.
on an inspection. So yeah, absolutely, slab's not a bad thing.
But obviously, if there's a finished basement, it is very cool. It's cool to have guests over and you're like, check out the basement. And you go down there, there's a bar, there's cool lighting, you got a TV, you got a nice couch. Usually that's where you're going to see those big L couches, those lounge areas, ping pong table. Personally, if I owned a house, I want a basement, so I'm going to say it's a 10, no basement. I'm all the way down to a 6. What do you got?
I'd say 5.
Oh, all right. Staying even. I like it. I forget who said it, but he was like, I don't do it's a 10 or out of 10. He's like, it's either a yes or a no. But yeah,
No, there's always in between.
it's always
There's
in
always
between.
an in between.
Any
So,
others?
yeah, this one I thought could kind of help on the educational side
Yep.
too. It's a 10, and this one we kind of just learned about with a property we've got right now with one of our clients.
Mm-hmm.
It's a 10, but it has galvanized plumbing.
Oh yeah, you were excited when you were. So one of the properties, the inspector found galvanized plumbing on it. And it was like, she didn't say that she didn't know what it was, but I don't expect, not many agents know what galvanized plumbing, and it's nice to know about it, but the inspector is going to easily be able to educate you. But after that YouTube video, she's like talking to me. She's like, yeah, have you heard about galvanized plumbing? It's a pretty big deal. But yeah, so it's got galvanized plumbing. I don't care. Plumbing's not a big problem to me. If it's galvanized or not galvanized. So I guess I'll clean up and say what galvanized plumbing is. And I'm not an inspector. I'm a real estate agent, so I'm going to be very broad with it. Back then, they used to build houses, and the plumbing had these pipes. I forget what they're made of, but they'd be dipped in zinc. Yes, they'd be dipped in zinc. So the outside would protect it from erosion or corrosion and things like that, but the inside would start to corrode after a while. And that's what happens when you got a property with galvanized plumbing. Usually around the 50-year mark, they're finding out that that's going to cause issues. 2 major signs is low water pressure or your water's brown, right? So from that, if it's got galvanized plumbing and you're not struggling with water pressure and you're not struggling with discolored water and things like that, I don't really care. I'll cross that bridge when I get there, but I'm not going to see a huge issue. It might raise your insurance costs because not all insurers on home insurance cover galvanized plumbing. That being said, you might not have as much control over your insurance, especially if you're getting a loan, you got to get insurance. So those could be 2 big issues, but I'm going to say if it's a beautiful house and it's got galvanized plumbing, it's a nice deal. Maybe 10 to a 9. It's not going to hurt my choice.
Yeah, again, like you said, I don't think it's going to make that big of a difference. Of course, make sure you get the right professionals and right opinions out there,
Yep.
on it, but again, just because it has galvanized plumbing does not take it down.
I agree. Maybe 9.
Next one we've got here is it's a 10, but it has aluminum wiring.
Okay. Do you want to take this one or do you want me to? Aluminum wiring heats up quicker. It's not covered by insurance companies.
That
Eh,
was the largest.
Yeah. Fire hazard.
Other than the actual fire hazard, insurance is not going to cover that. So, you're looking at quite an extensive cost
Yeah,
to
and
get that replaced.
if you can't identify the aluminum wiring, insurance companies don't often send somebody out there to identify it for you. So you might find out the hard way that you have it, and it heats up, expands, and causes a house fire. We just had a property that a buyer bought, and the attic had previously had house fire issues. I don't know if it was the aluminum wiring, but either way, they ended up having to change that out and costing them a good $5,000-$6,000 to rewire all that. They also put a new electric panel in and stuff, so it's not the absolute cost. Don't hold me to that, but it can get pricing. Aluminum wire, I'd have more of a problem with that because it could cause safety issues. I'm gonna say a 5 if there's aluminum wiring. What do
I'd
you
say
say?
a 6 again, because if
Okay.
it's a really desirable house,
You're like,
it,
yeah.
it could be an opportunity to get in and possibly get a good deal.
It is
on
a
the
10.
property.
That's true.
Right.
Yeah.
But again, know what you're getting into
You're
with
right.
aluminum wiring.
I changed my answer to a 7.
Final answer.
Final answer. Tell me, Regis.
All right, we'll wrap up this topic with
You're taking this one. I'm talking too much.
It is a 10, but the foundation has hairline cracks.
Okay. What way? This way or vertical?
Yeah, that is important.
or vertical or horizontal?
East to west.
East to west. Is it poured or is it brick laid concrete?
Poured.
She's like it's the best of the best.
Cracks a
Horizontal, I'm probably telling them to
Fix that.
maybe look elsewhere or
Yeah.
get someone. But vertical hairline, that you're gonna see hairline, especially in the areas that we go to in St. Louis out there. It's very
Arnold,
common.
yeah, Arnold, you're gonna see some stuff because the land moves around out there.
It's very common, and yes,
Not that you shouldn't get inspected. We're not inspectors, so don't take our word for fact. But yes, this is our personal opinion on how we feel if we were buying our own.
this is one of those things where you
Yeah.
really have to understand how much peace of mind, right, you want when it comes
Mm-hmm.
to your next property. Foundation and hairline, they can be repaired and they can be done professionally, and it can out.
But what caused it?
What
If
caused
there's
it?
a crack going that way and it gets repaired, is there a crack coming up?
Yes, of course, because typically 99% of the time it's water.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, or just movement in land. But I get
Yes,
what you're
but-
saying. 99. Yeah, I don't know. I never thought about what the causes would
I
be.
don't know 99% of the
Yeah,
time.
but I get you.
know-
I get what you're saying. Most of the time, it's caused by water.
Or movement, of course, right?
Yeah.
Again, it's really important to get a special inspection done by a foundation expert or
Yeah,
an
foundational-
engineer. Again,
Yeah, licensed
someone,
contractor in
a
that
licensed
area.
contractor, someone who can really come in and give you their honest opinion, because
And an estimate. Yeah.
majority of the time everything is repairable especially when it comes to foundation. It's just depending on how much effort and how much money you are willing to put into that.
Yeah.
If you see it and it's repaired, great. It's more of an idea
Peace of mind.
peace of mind. But how long do you have until you're going to see more problems arise?
More problems. Why is it cracking? What happened? Was the source solved, or did they just repair the crack? Yeah.
But then
I
again,
get you, and these
if
are scary
you are
things.
constantly worried about foundational issues such as hairline fractures, you are going to really limit yourself, especially depending on the areas that you look in. If that's make or break for you, you got to be strategic about it. And
Yep.
again, if the issue is very noticeable and very extreme, then yeah, of course. But if they're minor issues, you should really consider it. So I'd say
Yep.
take it down to about a 7, very situational.
If you're saying it's this way, I'm going to say it's a 4.
Yeah, if it's horizontal,
Yeah.
that's
It's a 4 for me, just because I don't know, just that's a lot. There's a lot of unknowns there, and people are going to disagree with me. This is me buying my own property, and hopefully, I don't screw up any deals. Just 4 for me, but I can be turned into a 7 and 8, maybe even a 9 with proper education on what's going on with that with a professional. But the thing I always look at is, this is just a rule of thumb with any problem with the property, right? When you're getting an inspection and you get a confident answer from the licensed contractor in that specific area that it can be completely resolved, then you need to get an absolute number as close as you can, because you need that number for negotiations. You can't just go to an agent that's selling the property or representing the sale of the property and expect them to be okay with you going, yeah, something wrong with the foundation. I don't like it. We'd like it fixed. We'd like it done. Or we'd like, I don't know, $6,000. They're going to be like, you have no idea what you're talking about, and it's going to be less to negotiate. But if you can get a professional to come out there and give you a quote of how much it would cost to repair, you can then go to them and be like, hey, we have to repair this, and this is what it's going to cost us. You know, let's talk. And that's going to be a lot more realistic. So just get the numbers absolute when it comes to aluminum wiring, galvanized plumbing or pipes, and of course, hairline cracks that are going anywhere. You know, just get your absolute numbers. It's a lot more realistic to negotiate there.
It's funny you said that too and brought into the negotiation piece, right? Because
Yeah.
realistically, any property can be a 10 at the right price.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
At the right price, and
Yes.
Yes.
And I want to add to that, the right price can sometimes be negative. I've never seen a property go negative and never had a transaction, but there's some properties where they're like $10,000 and you're like, wow. And then you see this thing, you're like, this thing is going to cost me more than $10,000 just to have. Right. So even the right price can be a negative number, maybe negative $10,000. But yeah, cool. I like the idea. Moving on. This is nice. It's nice and relaxed.
Chilling.
does that wrap up your game?
Yeah, that wraps
Anna?
up my little game. Now the people want to hear about the closing process.
Cool. How much time do we got to talk
Or
about
21, so I would say about 10 minutes or so.
10 minutes. We're at 21 minutes. I want to go longer. We got to go longer. I was thinking 10, 10, and then maybe like we do 20. So we're right on track if you think about it. Right?
So today we are going to be talking about
Yep.
our home buyers and home sellers closing checklist.
Yep. We can start with one, and then if we run out of time, we can continue the other side of the transaction. What are your thoughts of that?
Let's loop them in together.
You want to?
Yeah.
All right. I like it. I was thinking that too,
They're,
right
they're
as I was
so
saying it.
similar in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I was thinking that too. Right as you said that, I was like, looping it is accidentally just going to take place anyways.
So first, too, when we talk about closing,
Mm-hmm.
you know, for those who may not understand or may not, when does the closing process start?
When does the closing process start? I mean, basically, when you get all parties to sign the contract and agree on what is called an executory contract, and that's something that still has contingencies that need to be fulfilled, right?
Yep, offer acceptance.
Yep,
That is
offer
when
and
closing
acceptance.
starts.
Yep.
People like to think of closing maybe on a day or, you know, the last week
Yep.
of before you take possession. No.
No.
Closing is all the way up until that acceptance offer
Yep.
is signed.
The better way I would put it would be when you have skin in the game, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you are in and you can't turn back, you know, I've committed earnest deposit money and they accepted it. I want to start real quick with one point, just so you guys know. If you have an agent and you got a property, say it's a $300,000 house, and you send an offer in for $290,000, and that offer is sitting in the owner's inbox, are you under contract? Yes or no?
No.
No, you're not. They have to accept it, right? They have to respond that that they are accepting your offer, right? So I have some buyers that are like, ooh, I found another house that I actually like. And I'm like, I'm glad you told me this because we haven't heard from the seller that they accepted our contract. And we pulled out, and I messaged them. Traditionally, I like to do all three. I send an email, I send a text, and then I give them a call and leave a voicemail to make sure there's a good argument that we're like, you know, we clearly withdrew our offer. And that goes not only with offers, but if you're under negotiations, like you send an offer in, they counter your offer and say, no, we want to do 295 instead of 290. And you now are holding this counter and you counter with 292 and it goes back into their inbox. Then they still have to accept that counter.
Yeah, there's still no agreement.
Yep. And the same thing could happen to you, remember, right? If you're sitting with a counter in your hand after you've made an offer as a buyer and they send that counter back to you, they could always at any time just call you up and say, hey, we withdraw our counter to you. We ended up wanting to go with another buyer or something like that. So that's happened too. Something I wanted to just make sure was cleared up. So
Yeah, absolutely.
good point though. That's when closing starts, when all parties involved in the contract accept and agree to the
Yep.
contract.
Once the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted, it
Ah.
is ready to go.
Maybe. I guess I know what you're saying, but there's so many times where we have transaction coordinators come in and be like, hey, we need this and we need this corrected on the
Sure.
document. That's going to happen.
Sure.
But I get you.
But when we talk about, offer acceptance and contracts, cool. A good thing about closing is everything is going to be laid out
Oh, yeah.
for the most part in that contract. So
Oh, yeah. Yep, it's
read
very
your
good.
contracts, please. Don't rely on your agents. Don't rely on your lawyers. Read the contracts yourself. Know what you're getting into.
Yeah, well, rely on
Understand
your
what it
lawyers
is.
and your agents, but yeah, definitely read the contract
Yes.
yourself,
Yes.
and rely on your lawyers to help that. If you want it explained to you and what you're buying into, rely on an attorney. And if you want the game plan and the questions and advice and counseling and the overall transaction, definitely rely on your agent. Good point. Good point.
So, yep. So once the offer is accepted, essentially that is the day or the day after that the contract starts.
Yep.
Okay.
So it is kind of the day after. I get you on that point because
Yes.
inspection contingencies, whenever they say like 10 days after, the following day, according to the wording, does start your actual inspection contingency. We won't get into contingencies too much
we've done
because
that.
we have a podcast that goes over that in depth. So just rewind a little bit there.
Yeah. So closing happens in 3 phases,
Okay.
right? Phase 1, the inspection. Mm-hmm. Phase 2 is title.
Now, this is traditional closing,
Traditional,
right?
of
There's
course.
special sales contracts that might skip something, move along, but your traditional closing, you're exactly right.
Which,
3 phases.
again, with phase 3 is the loan. Yet again, if you're not getting a loan, if you're not taking financing out, then of course phase 3 does not apply here.
Yep.
But at first, like I said, we have our closing checklist, an efficient process that we have really tightened up over the past couple of years to ensure that our clients are getting the best and most efficient, service.
Well
from
animated
us.
too.
Right.
So yeah, we just send over all our clients, whether they're buyers or sellers, just a nice laid out checklist. It's colored, different colors, to help you kind of organize it. And we've pointed it out in actually 3 phases, but then we got a kind of a conclusion section below that, of course. But yeah, what are the phases titled by again?
So we have phase 1 inspection, phase 2 title, and then phase 3 loan.
Okay, perfect. Financing. Yep.
And this checklist is really, put in place to not only hold you accountable as the client to ensure we're meeting deadlines,
Yep.
hold me as the agent accountable, make sure I'm overseeing, make sure we are meeting deadlines, and also
Yep.
holding the other party accountable, making
Agreed.
sure that their deadlines are being met as well to make sure that we are getting to the closing table.
I like what you're saying about holding the other party accountable, right? Because in the end, we got to, as agents, particularly you and I like to always say, it's my fault no matter what, right? And that just means like I could have done something. I always have the ability to do something, even if the opposing agent messes up or the opposing lender. If you're selling the property and the lender's for the buyer, you're still sacrificing your seller if you're not holding every party accountable. So that's one thing we really make sure we're doing. With every transaction, no matter who's involved, no matter what side you're on, it's up to us, right? The agent needs to make sure everything goes smoothly. So we're babysitting, holding accountable, counseling you, and negotiating all at the same time. Keep going. Sorry to cut you off.
No, that's a great point.
Yep.
So we'll start with the phase 1 inspection, right? If there's an inspection period or inspection contingency within the terms of the contract,
Yep.
Essentially, this is one of the very first things that you do on day 1 after offer acceptance. This, and we'll talk about what the other option is, which is the earnest money deposit. Those are the
Yep.
first 2 things.
First 2 things to think
that
about.
need to be done immediately, right? Because not to go and hire an inspector, well, you might have a 5 to 10 day period to get that inspection done, and that's to get it done and get the report back.
Yep.
Sometimes a lot of inspectors in this area are good; they can get them out in 1 to maybe 2 days or so.
Yeah, can I address the 10-day period thing? That is St. Louis, Missouri side is a traditional 10-day. You can make your inspection period and negotiate that as long as you want. But the wording, if you do not negotiate and just leave it the way it is, the wording in your traditional sales contract is going to be 10 days on the Missouri side. The wording, Hannah, the wording in the Illinois contract,
It's like
it's a little different.
It's whatever
Yeah.
day is closer. 10 days after the date of acceptance,
No, it's 20 days after the date of acceptance.
or 10 days before closing.
10 days before closing. So if you say you have a 20-day closing, then yeah, it would be 10 days after the
Right.
date of acceptance. But yeah, so that's crazy. And I tell agents on the Illinois side so much. I'm like, just so you guys know, this is like, if you go to Missouri, we sometimes have 7-day inspection contingencies, and we're like, move, trying to get inspectors out there. They're feeling everything. There's a crack here, stitch it up. Nah, but you know,
Even
what
at
I'm-
7 days is not that long.
No,
you're
especially
tasked
with weekends.
with 7 days to
Yeah.
not only find an inspector that you trust, but also rely on them to get out within that time period.
Oh,
and
yeah.
get a report back.
That's why we always have 3 to recommend, and that's
Exactly.
7 days, not business days.
Right.
Keep that in mind. And then like 7 days, 10 days, whatever. The wording in the contract is 10. Used to be 7. That's why we get that word in our head. But yeah, in Illinois, it's 20 days if you have a 30-plus day contract, right? And then just to follow up, there's negotiations that take place which are
Sure.
extended by 10 days.
Hold on there.
Sorry,
Big dog.
I'm jumping. Big dog.
So not only do you have to call and schedule your inspection, one of the first things that you do is you also
Yeah.
have to deposit your earnest money.
She's over there laughing. You're like, hold
He
on.
thinks
there,
we're done
big dog.
with phase one. We're not done with phase one
Done
yet.
with phase 1, Rob.
I just picture client. I'm chatting with his client. He's just like, hold on there, big dog. We're not done.
All right. So the second thing you need to do is make sure you're getting your earnest money deposit in.
Cool.
That's pretty straightforward. You typically have 3 to 5 days. Get that money deposited.
Yeah, the traditional wording in both states, I would argue, is 5 days. Sometimes people make it 3 days.
And it's super simple now.
Super
You just get a
straightforward.
link. You send it right, and you put it in
Yeah.
your bank account, and they.
Yeah, so there's a lot of softwares that title companies all traditionally use. In Illinois, you're going to hear trust funds is a common software that's used by realtors because they get that software included with their real estate, with their realtor
MLS.
membership. Well, yeah, membership with the National Association of Realtors. So that's going to be commonly used. But also, yeah, you could do a check, why can't I think of the word of the kind of check?
Wire.
Not a wire check.
A cashier's
Cashier's check, yeah. I'm losing it. But yeah, you could do a cashier's check, give it to your agent, and then they would report it to the broker, which would give it, put it directly into escrow. But
So once you have those two
Yeah.
things done, really you have a short period of nothing needs to be rushed, except really start looking for home insurance. Start reaching out, start getting quotes, because that's one thing that's going to show up out of nowhere that might as well just get proactive at. That's going to need to be done before.
you and I were talking about this too, because this used to not be a big deal. Like agents used to be like, yeah, get your insurance 5 days before, right? But now insurance companies are really starting to hike down, especially after the hail damage, fires in California, the excessive costs of materials that are increasing, the price of houses going up, making it so insurance companies are suffering a lot. So yeah, they're getting a little bit more strict, and you have to hunt a little bit more for rates. So I love the idea that, you're saying put it into phase 1.
Yeah. So after that, once you really have those boxes checked, you get to the last part of phase 1, which is, again, the inspection notice and negotiating the inspections.
I feel it.
Right. At this point, you would have gotten the inspection report back.
Yep.
You would have read it. Your agent would have gone through it with you. The inspector would have gone through it with you, and now you're determining, if at all there are going to be any requests for repairs, credits, or even the option to walk away
Back up.
if there's anything that you don't like. So
4 episodes back, you'll understand what we're talking about. So
that again, that kind of concludes the first phase. The
first phase.
Once both parties agree upon what the condition of the home and
Yep.
what's going to be negotiated there, then you move on to phase 2.
Yep. And I do also want to say you're going to see a lot of agents, if you follow them or are friends with them on Facebook, you'll see that they say under contract, properties under contract. Traditionally, they like to post this under contract when they feel a little bit more confident in the agreement. And that usually takes place after phase one. They're going to post and celebrate on Facebook, hey, I got this property under contract for my client. Because one of the biggest turmoils to a contract that could cause it to end or cause issues or anything like that is that inspection period. And sellers are just sitting there in quiet, like silence, just waiting for the buyer to finally send that over. So just something I'd point out there.
Yeah, absolutely. So we move on to phase two, which is mainly revolving around title.
Okay.
All right. The first order of business, though, will actually be ordering the appraisal, and whether or not that's done by you, your agent, or most likely the lender, even though that's
Don't
technically
squeeze it.
not title, that is one thing that needs to be proactive in
Yep.
getting that out. And again, most likely your lender will schedule that for you. But again, every lender is different, so making sure that you're getting that appraisal out.
So the lender will schedule it because the lender needs a third party bias.
Sure.
So I don't,
I've never been a part of any deal
Yeah, they
where the
wouldn't- they
lender
would-
did not.
no, the lender would always schedule it because
I figured, yeah. That makes
You're right.
sense.
I get you.
But
You don't want to
could-
be absolute.
but
Who knows what state
again,
we're
you
watching
never
this
know
from.
too if you personally want to hire a third party
Touche.
appraisal just
Yeah.
for your own, someone that you trust. You know, who knows?
Absolutely, and you can do that. But
That just wouldn't
in the
be-
state of Missouri and Illinois, you're going to have the lender, if they have an appraisal writer, they're going to be hiring that appraiser.
And that's just depending on, and it's in this phase just depending on whether or not your lender requires it to
Yeah.
be done.
And
at that
sometimes if we feel like a property is going to cause some issues with the inspection, we'll reach out to your lender as a buyer's agent. We'll be like, hey, hold off on ordering the appraiser because traditionally the appraiser, unless they have a promo going, the appraisal is going to be charged to the buyer, even if the transaction fails, right? And there was a situation where the transaction failed, and this was one of your first transactions, and you felt like you dropped the ball, and the appraiser was about to charge it, and you took on the cost of the appraisal for your client. Yeah, because I remember
Sometimes that's what you have to do.
sometimes, integrity over
It was worth it.
money. Yeah,
It was worth it.
but cool. So
You
keep
know, so
going.
next order of business during still in phase two is, if you need a survey or anything along those lines, get that ordered. And,
Yep.
again, we will have, a good agent will have, again, reputable companies, the title company will have options of surveyors out there. Again,
Yep.
interview multiple, choose, the one that fits you the best.
Yep.
And can you quickly tell us why you might want a survey or need a
Yeah,
survey?
Might is going to be a key word. Always rely on your surveyor to really understand the reasons and the benefits to getting a survey. But yeah, traditionally these will be the reasons.
If you want to look out for first you want to understand where your property line is. I'd say that's one of the biggest. Understanding if there's any liens or anything associated with that.
Yeah.
I guess that won't come up on the survey, but more of the title search.
Yeah, title search. The three things I always do when it comes to like my buyer wanting to get a survey. If you're planning on building a fence, if you're planning on building a shed, or if you are nervous about your property line and you feel like your neighbors are encroaching, right? Then that just simply means they have materials that are kind of permanent on their property that are kind of swaying over onto your land. Keep in mind, just so you know, tree branches are encroachments. But if you're interested in doing anything like that, getting a survey is very important because a survey will also assist you in zoning and different areas of those opportunities. And he'll be able to answer questions of, yeah, you could build a shed here. Or if you're trying to do this, your property line might come into an issue. And then the third thing that I always bring up is easements. Sometimes easements might be in play, especially out in the country, particularly easements you might have more control over. And I say country versus city. You'll probably have easements in the city, but they'll be more by your local government, and you don't have much control over those, like wires underneath or wires over above. They might have an easement that they can have the right to come out and work on those underneath your property, right? But out in the country, you might have somebody using your land to pass their driveway through, or they might have a portion of your land where they store wood. And sometimes there's implied easements by necessity or easements by why can't I think the word prescription? And those are basically easements that they either have been using it long enough to where it's obvious that, an easement's been created, or it's a necessity because they can't get to their property without a driveway running through yours. So those are things that a surveyor would also be able to help you with and truly understand what kind of easement issues you're dealing with as well.
So if you decide to get a survey, you'll go through that process, but all while that is happening, your title company will be in the background working on their title commitment.
Yeah.
Right. This concludes essentially phase 2, which is they are lifting up under the hood of the home, right?
Yeah.
As far as, title purposes, making sure there's no liens again on the property, making sure, everything associated or attached to that property is at least known and aware.
And we go over this when it comes to the contingencies because you got a contingent on clear title. So go back to watch the other podcast when it comes to contingencies. We talk about what we're doing there, what the title company is doing there. And I do want to clear up one other thing. Traditionally, in the state of Missouri and in the St. Louis metro area, the title company is going to order your surveyor. But unlike the appraiser, they don't have to. They're not required to, and they don't imply it. You can order the surveyor yourself. The title company just takes that on sometimes because surveying, like you were saying, really kind of blends in with the title insurance that they're working on.
Cool. So essentially, once you get that title commitment back, everything's free and clear. Move on to phase 3, which is essentially just kind of wraps up with financing.
Yep. Financing contingency, right? And we talk about that, but more importantly, we make financing phase 3 because inspection could cause issues with financing, right? In case you find something that the lender would have an issue covering or loaning to, or
Liens or any
liens,
certain payoff amounts
liens.
on the
Yep,
current
the lender's going to
property.
be like, we got to get those taken care of, or I'm not giving them money. Or of course, if you
Insurance.
guys, insurance. Nobody. I can't think of a single lender that's going to give money to you to buy a property. That
can't be insured.
Yeah,
That
they're
can't
going to
get
want it
insurance.
insured. Just the same idea as a car. You're required to get full coverage on your car if you have it leased.
Did you mention the appraisal too as well? If the appraisal comes in off?
No, I didn't, but you're exactly right. The appraisal comes off. We also speak to that in the other podcasts. That's another thing that could cause issues. So we save that for 3 because lending in the background is cleaning up all the paperwork, working with the buyer to make sure they can actually afford and get approved for this loan.
Make sure their credit hasn't changed, and make sure their debt to income ratio hasn't changed.
Those things are
dramatically.
legitimate.
They
The
are.
underwriter doesn't have
And
an
they
issue.
look at those things very closely.
Yep. Especially when it's FHA or VA or USDA. But most importantly, all those other things aren't about the lender qualifying the buyer, but the lender qualifying the property, right? Because the lender needs to have a proper asset to hold against the money that they're giving you. And, if that asset proves less valuable than they anticipated, you're going to have to renegotiate something. So,
So typically a few days before the actual closing date, you'll get what we call a clear to close.
Clear to close,
right?
Yep.
And that's essentially all the underwriting has been officially done. All of the money has been, I guess, not distributed, but
The numbers are lined up. Everybody is saying, every party involved is saying, I am happy to move forward and sign. I'm happy to endorse this transaction. That clear to
we
close.
are capable of doing so.
Yep. That clear to close will happen. You'll see it or get it usually 48, sometimes 24 hours before the actual closing day. There is one other thing when it comes to the financing contingency. You're trying to get a CD, which is a closing disclosure. And a closing disclosure is going to be a big detail that the lender needs to send out 3 days. They sometimes call it the 3-day TRID. That closing disclosure needs to be in the possession of the buyer, the lendee, for 3 days prior to closing. Sunday doesn't count. Every other day counts. So one big thing that you got to make sure that, you get the appraiser back, no problems with the appraisal, no problems with title. Everything gets cleaned up so that lender can send out that CD and get it in the possession of the buyer. Because if they send it out 2 days before closing, you're moving closing by a day legally, right? And that's what they
And
once
we
again call
sit
the
and
3-day trade.
view and use that closing document, right? Making
Yeah.
sure everything's in line and making sure everything's
100%.
accurate. As an agent, right, and especially as a client or as a buyer or seller, it's very important that you understand what is on that closing.
Yeah, the closing disclosure. The lender will traditionally, a lot of lenders like to attend closings, and they will go over it with you at closing. But if they can't attend, sometimes the title, the closer at the title company, they will go over those proper
There
documents with you.
Are
yeah.
a lot of documents that you sign on closing day.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's
You're-
easy
you'll
to
be
flip
tired.
through them
Oh yeah,
and
agreed.
not pay attention. Know what you're signing.
Yeah.
Like
And that's
anything
one
else.
reason we also like to provide a little flash drive that we put everything on for you. Because, oh my gosh, I hate when it's like 5 years later and they're like, hey, something is up with your original purchase. And I'm just going through, papers this thick, right?
No,
And I'm
thank
like,
you.
"Ja." So it's a lot easier when you have it all on a flash drive in your back pocket.
Yeah,
So,
and
cool.
then realistically, that's not even the last part of closing. Once everything is signed and everything
Oh, yeah.
is again official, the keys are exchanged.
Yeah. So you get your keys. We have to come out there, remove the lockbox, or the seller has to come out there, remove the lockbox, the sign in the yard. We really hope you always help out your agent when it comes to leaving them a review in any form that they like, Facebook, Zillow, if they're working heavy on Zillow, other forms like homes.com, Redfin, realtor.com. Those are all review areas. We prefer Google. I like Google, but also Yelp is a good one. But yeah, definitely review your agent. If you appreciate them, you help them out a lot when it comes to verifying them via reviews. So
Sure. Again, and
Cool.
find a good agent who is experienced
Prepared.
and has an efficient process through closing. Again, right? Because it's going to be important.
efficient and proactive, right? Able to really set expectations of what you are ready to go. And don't be afraid to ask your agent over and over what's next. If you feel like you're bothering your agent, don't bother your agent as much as you can. This is one of the biggest transactions you're going to make in your life, right? So very important that you know what's going on before you sign that dotted line. So I think we're good here. Got everything we need. You guys definitely reach out, call us, text us, or just message us on whatever social media that you're watching us through. But absolutely, told you not to squeak it. But absolutely, guys, reach out to us. Let us know if there's any things you want to learn more about or have us speak to at our next podcast or show. So cool. I'm Robert,
Good night. I am Chad.
and this was Intellectually. We'll see you.